And I said, you know what? Every $2 million business needs this. Most of them don't get it right. They really make
Yeah.
a mess of their books. And I can talk about all the things they do instead of getting it right. But I said, you know what? I'm going to offer this as a service.
Welcome to today's episode of the Seven Figure Journey podcast. I'm David Gilliland, one of your hosts, and we've got the privilege of having Eric Weynand here with us from Plot Path. And Eric, you're calling in from Uruguay.
That's right.
Well, welcome to the show. We're just delighted to have you on.
Well, thanks for having me. Yeah, and I'm in Uruguay or Uruguay to your average English speaker. It's a little country nestled down here in between Brazil and Argentina of just about 3 million people.
That's fantastic. And I think you guys have the Iguazu Falls right there, don't you?
We do, yeah. And actually, one of our teammates, who's a bit of a digital nomad, she's from South Africa, is there at this moment. Just yesterday, she was telling us about her experiences over there in Iguazu Falls. It's actually like, yeah, up on the border there with Argentina and Brazil, I think. I haven't been. It's on the bucket list.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. Yeah, thanks for taking a little time talking with us, and let's dive in. I mean, the fun thing is entrepreneurs are entrepreneurs, and we all have our story of how we got started. I'd love to hear just a little bit of yours. How in the world did you get into this space? And my understanding is you're doing this fractional CFO work, taking over the accounting, the CFO things, the insights into their business, and even some tax. Is that right, Eric?
We don't do tax.
Okay,
We will
good.
we will do operational taxes, so sales and use taxes. But
Okay,
yeah, federal income taxes and state income taxes, we leave that to what I call the tax nerds.
I love that. So you stay more on the business accounting.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a CPA. All of our controllers are CPAs, but we're the audit, management, cost accounting, business intelligence kind of people. And so that's our focus, is giving useful financial reporting to our clients so they know how the business is doing, and they use that information to run the business. We leave the minimizing your tax liability to the folks that love tax code
The
and
love
regulation.
tax code.
Yeah, we don't like that. We like operational accounting, financial reporting kind of work.
Perfect. And how did you get started in this, Eric?
Well, so I always had the kind of the bird in my saddle when it came to small business and entrepreneurship. I saw I helped my brother when he started his business way back when I was in college, and I was dialing potential clients out of the yellow pages, like literally trying to sell them websites. And so he's had a successful business ever since then. And so I worked with a lot of small businesses like that throughout my career. Um, the specific impetus to start Plot Path was actually when I was moving down to Uruguay. And so I had been back in Austin, Texas, where I'm from, for 5 years. And I had worked at Dell in P&L controllership and in business intelligence. And then I worked for a $2 million venture-backed water technology startup where I was the finance director, and I sort of revamped all of their finance and accounting, from basic bookkeeping, transaction processing, all the way up to board presentations, right, to the venture board and everything in between. And I said, you know what? Every $2 million business needs this. Most of them don't get it right. They really make
Yeah.
a mess of their books, and I can talk about all the things they do instead of getting it right. But I said, you know what? I'm going to offer this as a service. And so that's when I launched Plot Path. As I moved down to Uruguay, wanted something that I could serve remotely, all of the businesses in the US from Uruguay. And so that's how it all started at the end of 2015, when it was just rent Eric for $75 an hour, but always with the vision of a team of bookkeepers, controllers, and CFOs to provide this finance and accounting service to small businesses.
Oh, very cool. Uh, and you've been growing it, and you've been adding team members, you've been adding customers, clients across. And if I'm thinking right, I mean, you've got close to 20 people now working for you, right?
Yeah, we have a team of 20. 18 of those are full time. There's 5 of us here in Uruguay, 15 of us in the US. And so you've got some Uruguayan company employees, some US company employees, a couple contractors in there. But yeah, it's just been a slow and steady growth of the team over these last 8+ years.
Nice. As you cross that threshold, let's say around 9, 10 people, you were well into the $1 million category and playing in that space. And you started to run into some issues and problems, and you probably figured some cool things out. Like others that are listening on, I mean, we're all 7-figure business owners. We've all learned something. What have you learned? What are some things you're like, this has been a real key to our growth? This has helped us succeed at this stage.
I mean, it's cliche, but and everybody learns this when they run a business. Is it's the people that you bring on to to run this business with you. And so I'll tell you a little anecdote. When I started the business, I actually had this vision of, okay, I'm moving to Uruguay. I'm just gonna like plug in a bunch of Uruguayan accountants or maybe even accounting students and just have this massive operation back office accounting work being done by down here for people in the US. And you know what? It doesn't even matter who the person is because Eric's going to organize all the systems and all the processes to perfect it where you can plug anybody in and they can execute it. And so I even created um, dummy email addresses. The first one was Abby at plotpath.com, and I used the U.S. women's soccer team roster to. I was like, I'm going to just we're going
To
to end
come
up
up with
with
your emails.
those are the people that worked here, right? And I was like, I'm just going to plug these people. And like, this is a genius idea. It's like Uruguay is an educated marketplace. Like, it's going to be great. Total bomb. Like that did not work. Like as much as I want to processify everything and make everything work via software, it's still a service business, despite all the artificial intelligence and like automation via the different banks and applications. It's still a people and service business. And so one of the things I'm proudest of is the recruiting process we've built and the culture that we have. And I can tell you all about all the things we do on the recruiting side to find the best people. But that has given us the stability and the human capital to make this business work and continue to grow.
I love that. I mean, we're speaking the same language on this, and we've seen the same thing where it is about the people. It's not how or what out there that we need to fix and work on. It's who we need to
Yeah.
plug in to ensure we get the problem solved and we care for our customers.
Yeah.
Well, you're probably one of the few companies, Uruguay, uh, Uruguay-based business that hires their staff out of the U.S. to do some stuff.
Yeah.
Someone else is thinking, "Hey, a cost savings game." But you're like, no, it's a talent game. We need the right talent. Period.
Yes. Yeah, and there's a whole angle there. There's this a little bit of a backlash to outsourcing or offshoring in the US
Hmm.
to a certain extent. People have had bad experiences of it going over to East Asia. And then you're all of a sudden dealing with this accountant over there who doesn't understand you, doesn't understand your culture, your business. And so I've never set out to create an offshoring operation. So our pitch to our clients is that, hey, you're going to work with a U.S. based bookkeeper and a U.S. based financial controller CPA. Like those two roles work on all of our engagements, and that's our U.S. team. And so are our CFOs. They're in the U.S. So that's the thing. It's not an offshoring operation. I happen to be in Uruguay. We do have 4 other people here. It's mostly run the business people. They do some client work, some of the basic bookkeeping, but it's always overseen by a US based bookkeeper and a US based financial controller CPA, which I think has worked really well because you don't get into those issues of miscommunication, not understanding each other that you get
Yeah,
into with
yeah,
offshoring.
I think that's cool. Yeah, let's dive back into what you'd mentioned there. You said you built a great hiring process because the reality is it's not just luck that you get a good person. It's work.
Yeah.
What do you do that helps ensure that cultural fit and role fit when you
Yeah.
look to hire somebody?
So I try to talk about it as like we really put them through the grinder literally before we ever interview them. And it's a good filtering tool. And so we post and ask. We're looking for people remotely anywhere in the U.S. Right? So we'll post online. We use Indeed as our platform, and we'll say, hey, we're hiring a bookkeeper that's anywhere in the US. Now, bookkeeper in the US, there's a lot of people interested in that position, right? So, right off the bat, it's going to drive a lot of interest. We get a ton of candidates. Awesome, great. How do you filter through that to know the ones that are truly a good fit? And so, we take advantage of all the things we have in Indeed, where they have like automated assessments that people have to take. They have to let us know if they're certified in QuickBooks Online. They have to know their years of experience. So we maximize all of that, but we also make them do a phone screen. So they have to do the pre-recorded phone screen that Indeed asks of them. And they also have to take our custom assessment. So I built a custom assessment that we give them 1 hour to take, where they literally have to screen record themselves performing certain tasks within QuickBooks Online and in a spreadsheet, all related to accounting. So pretty quick, you go from like the 400 candidates who saw Bookkeeper US and clicked apply down to the 10 or 20 who are really interested in working at PlotPath because they took the time to get on our website, understand who we are, what we do, what it's about, and they really want to be here. And so we do have them do all of that before we actually schedule an interview with them. And so that's how we find somebody who's committed to this, understands the culture, who we are, wants to be here, and also has the skill set to work in this, cloud-based distributed environment that we work in.
So you kind of make them, because there's a high demand for, I'd like to work from home remotely
Exactly. Yep.
from anywhere, right?
Yes.
You've got this high demand, then I like you call it putting them through the grinder. In other words, they have to fight their way into this, and
They have to
it's
be serious
relevant
about it.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's relevant stuff. It's stuff that shows if they can do the job. Most of
Exactly.
that's that relevant side, and
Hmm.
then from there you begin interviewing, and in your interview process, how are you selecting for? You said you care a lot about your culture. How are you
Yeah.
selecting for that in your interview process?
That's something that we're trying to get better at. So,
Okay.
I could probably a lot of business owners relate to this. Is like, when you do go hire people, like, what are the right interview questions? How do you find out
Yeah.
if once that
Yeah.
person's on the other side? Like, everybody struggles with that, and especially me. I'm like an accountant, finance kind of guy. I never trained in HR and interview techniques. We're small. We don't have the resources to hire an HR firm to do all of our interviewing, all that kind of stuff. So we're trying to get better at that. One thing that we're going through the EOS implementation process, and so we've built out our core values and our core focus, and that actually proved to be a very enriching experience for the leadership team. And using that in conversations with potential employees helps us let them know who we are, what it's about
Yeah.
working here,
Yeah.
So that having those kind of discussions sort of gives you a sense if that person is a good cultural fit.
Well, fantastic, and maybe we'll dive more into that. Let's let's switch some gears. So there were some nuggets there, and hopefully the listeners caught on to that. Uh, Pull in a bunch of people, find a way to get the attention, and then have them go through processes that show that they really want it. There's no automatic click apply stuff. You got to really want it and work through it. Then we know we have committed candidates and we don't waste so much time reaching out to people that are ghosting us, talking to people that are just looking for an extra buck an hour or that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, it's such a crowded field of candidates. There's got to be some way to narrow it down. And in our team, we have got really good longevity, both clients and team. And so we're looking at somebody who's like ready to commit to
yeah,
this, be
committed.
here for many, many years. And yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, let's switch over a little bit. I mean, now you're at this stage of your business and you're running full speed. What are you looking to improve? What's kind of nagging at you that you wish if I could get past this, I would move that much faster, that much cleaner, that much happier.
Um, I feel like I'm in that transition state of going from a small to a little bit larger and more organized business. And I think maybe when people hear 20 people, they might think, oh, wow, well, this is a big business. Maybe they think, oh, we kind of got things figured out. I don't feel like that at all. One thing is like, we are only people. We don't have a product, right? Our service is our people. Our product is our people. So of those 20, everybody's pretty much doing client work. There's a few of us who are on the leadership team that do less client work, but actually help run the business. So in that sense, we're still a very small business. And so we're trying to make that jump into getting stuff figured out, being more organized. And so that's what I'm dealing with right now. Going from, okay, well, there was Eric, and then everybody reported to Eric, very flat hierarchy,
Yeah.
easy access, had my fingers on the pulse of what everybody was doing, to how do I create some sort of structure, hierarchy, reporting structure without making it overly complex and bureaucratic to allow us to continue to scale? Because now we have, 7 bookkeepers, 7 controllers. I can't have them all coming to me with all of their questions. So
Yeah.
building out that structure and putting in place the leadership team to help continue to grow the business, those are the challenges that I'm dealing with right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're a challenge because you've succeeded, right? They're a challenge because you did it right. You grew the way you needed to. But we get to this point, and I'll use a metaphor of like riding a bicycle, where you've kind of maxed out the gear you're on.
Right.
And it's not about working harder anymore. It's just about shifting
Kind
gears.
of
So
downshift.
you
Yeah.
get more out of the same thing.
Yep.
Um, we find we find that happens on the ones and threes of business. So um, basically, at about a million, at about 3 million, at about 10 million,
Uh
you've got
huh.
these shifting points. You could also look at it basically just every time you triple in size. Let's suppose the revenue is different because your industry is different, but anytime you triple in size, it's just hairier,
Yeah.
right?
Different
You got to
animal.
do
Yep.
you got to do new stuff. And so let's play with that a little bit. And let me ask you, if you don't figure this out, what happens to your business here in 2, 3 years, or maybe even 1 year? If you
Yeah.
continue growing or you attempt to grow and you don't figure out this building the leaders that can lead it, that can build the teams and how the structure will work, what's the consequence?
Myriad consequences. So one would be, potentially all of a sudden I become overwhelmed and overworked. And that's not acceptable. Like one solution is like, oh, Eric's just going to work 60, 70-hour weeks, like a lot of entrepreneurs, small businesses end up doing in certain seasons.
Yeah,
That has major consequences for me. I've got 3 kids, aged 11, 8, and 4, and I want to be a present parent in their life. So I need normal work-life balance. I require that for myself and for all of our team members. And so that could be a downside. So if I don't do that and we still don't figure this out, well, then all of a sudden our service quality drops. Like we're not
yeah,
delivering the same level of service to our clients, which is kind of our secret sauce. Is like we deliver on our promises to clients. We have ways to ensure that happen. That's the reason we don't lose a lot of clients. Once they come to PlotPath, they stay with us. I have so many clients that have been with us since like 2015, 2016. It's amazing when I look at their financial reporting and I see those years, going all the way back to there. We've been issuing their financial statements and analysis every single month. So if our service quality drops, then their experience suffers. They might come for 6 months, realize it's all it's cracked up to be, fire us. All of a sudden we start churning clients and losing revenue. And as we've grown and trying to build a leadership team, that implies taking on more overhead, operating expenditures. Well, that has to be covered by the billable work that we're doing. And so if that starts to suffer, all of a sudden there's no profitability, there's no cash, and then you get into a drastic situation where you say, well, what do we have to do differently? We have to cut cut some costs. Yeah.
yeah. Um, Again, it's like being on that bike. So we're going as fast as we can, and then we're told to go faster. Pump those legs as much as you want. You're going to run out of energy.
hmm
Life begins to stink. It's not a fun ride anymore.
Yeah, yeah. I don't want it to suck for me or my
And you
team.
don't actually go much faster,
hmm
right? You plateau.
Yep.
And so we start losing revenue and opportunities, everything. And that's just because the formula of success to this point was right. You've won, you've done a great job. It's just that the formula for success at the next stage is a little different. And when we learn the new formula, we begin to take off again. We're going to triple in size again in a pleasant, sustainable, fun way, right? And
Yep.
that's what we're after is this growth. Uh, but it requires a few things. Like one, we have to change us, me. I have to
Yep.
change the way I see and lead and do, and where I get my dopamine hits from. Like, what's
Hmm.
a win has to be different,
Yep.
right? It's not because I had this client win anymore. When you first hand off to somebody else, now you have to say, "Oh, I'm so glad. Look at this. My CPA is doing great and delivering a great service. I'm kind of a proud parent now,
Yep. Yeah,
right?"
that's true.
And
Yeah.
that's a different one. Well, and then you've got to do another shift and you have to learn how to lead leaders.
Hmm.
And that's going to be your next little stage, which is almost like, am I not even a CPA anymore? Right?
Hmm. Yeah,
I
exactly.
didn't study people.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
yet
Trust me,
this is
uh,
what you have to master.
yeah, my CPA skill set and knowledge is like necessary, but so many things come way before that. Nowadays, running this business, yeah, it's all about people and management and organization.
And it can be uncomfortable. Just because you're learning something new, just like a child learning to walk. Okay, they're hitting their head a lot, they're going through, but they know they'll be running soon, right? They know they'll be there. And that's the same, right? That's the same for us. So one is this individual shift that has to happen, and to understand and think through that and do that work. And then the other is just, so what are the tools and how do we set it up, right? How do we begin building these leaders? I find that normally it's right about, what's fun is you're really forward looking. Not everyone else sees this. It's usually right around 25 people that you have to make this shift.
Yeah, you're forced into
You,
it.
you're forced into it. And if you don't, and I've seen people get as many as like 50 employees without making the shift. And you
Hmm.
described it well. 80-hour work weeks,
Right.
dying, their revenues have plateaued, and their profits are dropping. Like, talking to one recently, zeroed out. This is a $5.5 million company not
Yeah.
making a dime of profit.
Right. Yeah. There's nothing
Okay,
left over. Yeah.
and so
Yeah,
so
I think what happened in my case is I've got a lot of exposure to those scenarios. You know, I have a master's
yeah,
in
you see it.
accounting where I took a lot of masters in business administration. I learned a lot about business itself. I've worked with small business all the time, and I hear those complaints and I see those scenarios all the time. That combined with like my commitment to not becoming overworked and maintaining my work
Yeah,
life balance has forced me to try to prevent that. It's basically a prevention game. You know, it's like I
yeah.
feel myself start getting busy, things start getting crazy. Okay, what steps do I need to take to organize myself and my business so that we can continue to do great work, at least maintain, and ideally continue to grow without, me running around like a chicken with my head cut off.
And that's why you're seeing it ahead of time, because you've seen so many businesses go through exactly this. You're like, that's not going to be me. I'm going to
Yeah.
shift early.
Yeah,
So I
exactly.
love that. That's
Yeah.
I think that's one more nugget for the listeners, right? Having seen it ahead of time, that's not going to be me. As you get to that 25 and before then, if we can get ready and build, then you move beyond it.
100%.
Some of the challenges, though, is most of the systems and processes you see out there that people use are great managerial processes. So you could take, and there's some good stuff out there, and I like what they do, but they're very good managerial processes. They're good at running, really effective meetings, maybe like a level 10 meeting. Mention an EOS. Those are important things. They talk about clear goals that the whole organization can see, right, and that you can hold them accountable for the work that they need to do, kind of thing. Very good managerial systems. But the shift you're making right now is one of leadership, and so it's a leadership system.
Yeah.
It's something that overlays these great foundations you've already built on.
100% agree with you.
Uh, so start looking at it. Let's start to unpack the magic behind something you said earlier. I love, like, so many things you said. I'm like, man, he's just leading to it already. You're already seeing it because you've seen it across so many businesses. But like this culture piece where you said, we've done some work and identified some core values. Now I'm trying to figure out, how do I bring that in even more so I find the right talent?
Yep.
or attract the right talent in, not just because it's an ideal kind of job, but because it's the ideal kind of place to be in.
Right.
It's my
Yep.
community, right?
Yep.
And so there's some things we can do to make sure we're bringing in the right leaders, or promoting up the right leaders, right? Building them into the
Mm.
place. Which would you rather talk about? How to attract in those right people, or how to build some of your current staff into becoming the leaders that you want?
Well, our situation has been the latter.
Okay.
Kind of promoting from within and building
All
the
right.
team.
Let's
Yeah.
let's let's talk about that and see. So I'll touch on a couple things. First thing is, do you have one-on-ones with your staff right now where you take time every week to understand what they most care about, want to achieve, their kind of future goals?
No, we do monthly one-on-ones, and that's the aim of that meeting is kind of talk bigger picture, step away from the minutia of the day to day, and then
Hmm.
talk bigger picture. We do
Great.
the
All right.
weekly L10 meeting, so that's where we have our leadership staff meeting,
The
but that's
L10's
all.
on a team level thing, right?
Yep,
As you're
exactly.
working through.
Yeah.
So think individual, a little more, a little closer than those monthly would
Yep.
be one thing I would look at. And then I would have something like a monthly or at least a quarterly that you take a good chunk of time, like an hour plus, where
Mm-hmm.
you talk about their big vision future,
Yeah,
lay
that's a
out a
good idea.
roadmap with them, and then weekly, just the progress. 30-minute meeting total. That you're just
Yep.
progress. Where are you going on this? Cheering them on, getting to know them, building that relationship. I only bring up that one meeting because I can't force someone to want to lead.
Yep.
So in my promoting up, I hate to take a great outsource, CFO, fractional CFO,
Yep.
push them into a leadership role when really they just love doing client work and they don't have any desire to lead.
Yep.
And now I've lost a good CFO and didn't gain a good leader, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so
100%. You have to be so careful when when you're doing
that's
that,
right.
because yeah.
So really understanding the desire is one, and to know that desire takes trust building. And 12 meetings a year individually probably isn't enough to build the kind of
Yeah.
trust,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
just
No,
something
I
to
think you're
think
right.
about that may help you in your growing them up. Second thing, um, that might be useful is to have a framework for what good leaders do. Because uh, at this stage in business, most of us do this mistake. Most of us promote somebody in who, and even if we do a good job, they want to be a leader. Great. And they're doing their day job well. We trust them. Other people trust them. So we put them into the leadership role and we say, okay, now you're leading these people. Now go deliver the results you need to and build more people, go do it. And we don't teach them the important steps. Like, have we taught them the new skills they need to have to be a
Yep.
great leader?
Yeah.
Have we taught them how to use the tools of a leader? Do we know, right? Uh,
Yeah.
we have a model we've developed that helps people just see easily and quickly, like, oh, a leader at all times has to set the vision. They need to build the team and they need to deliver results. Most often, when we promote from within, the person goes into the role and they just try to deliver more results
Yeah.
because that's what they did as an individual contributor was deliver
Mm-hmm.
results.
Yeah.
Right. And so they're elevated to this level and they're thinking, I just got to motivate people to go and deliver these results. And if they don't, I'm going to carry it on my back. I'm going to do extra. We're going to push it to the finish line.
Yeah.
And they dive in and they bury themselves in work and they forget,
And they get overwhelmed. Yeah.
actually, yeah, we burn
Yeah.
them out.
Yeah.
Actually,
I've seen that. Yeah.
we deliver results through others. And
Yeah.
they have to learn that that's a new game and they'll be uncomfortable at first. And it's okay.
It's a
Right.
total mind shift. Yeah, I'm hearing everything you're saying is exactly what I've gone through as I've tried to build the leadership team, people promoting within.
Yeah.
That's what I'm challenged to do is yeah, get them to make that mental shift and how they see themselves and their role.
So there is a faster and better way. They need more repetitions, not less. New leader, weekly isn't enough for the new leader. The weekly is just their one on one. You're going to be touching in at the beginning every other day.
Wow. Yeah.
helping them to see, helping them remember, helping them to grow because they were individual contributors for you before and were winners.
Mhm.
Now you're putting them into a spot where they are feeling like they're losing every day.
Mhm.
And so they take additional support, but they can do a great job. And when they succeed, everyone else looks and says, hey, there's opportunity for me too.
Yeah.
So it really pays off
Yeah,
for your
yeah, it's
team
great
and the kind
advice.
of trust that can be built and the culture that's preserved. I love the build from within method, but it's different than we think. And you can't just plug them in, tell them to run this meeting, follow this system of management. Instead, they need to learn the process of leadership.
Yeah.
And so maybe, hopefully, these can be some little nuggets in there. There's a lot more to unpack, but what would it? What did you pull that was like actually this I could use? Any value so far from our conversation?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I hope the listeners got as much as I did out of it because, you described our situation and it's what I've been dealing with the last month. So we moved into EOS implementation in November. We're doing self-implementation. Like you
Hmm.
said, it's a framework. And
Yeah,
I said, you know what? And we're small, so I don't have the resources to necessarily pay 60K a year for an implementer. I said, I'm going to self-implement because it's a framework and we're good at frameworks and structure. We're going
yeah,
to do that, but there's a whole nother element. It's just the operating system. It's like you said, it's like developing
that's right.
leaders and the leadership team. And so that's what I've been dealing with and working on over here. And I've experienced exactly some of those situations, right? People go into a leadership role, things change, burnout, working too many hours. So I've been trying to address that, grow them into leaders. And so yeah, that's our situations. Yeah, so my takeaways is, you're probably right. It's like I've been thinking to myself, I need to have more frequent interaction with the leadership team on a one-on-one level. So I'll probably walk out of here and take action on that, put a few meetings on the calendar and say, hey, we need to start doing this, a weekly touch base or at least twice a month. Yeah, that's my takeaway.
Well, and it's great. It's because you've shifted gears to become a leader of leaders. You have a new job, and that's to influence through many. Instead of doing a leader is doing, let's say, $1,000 an hour work because they're influencing all of the $100,
Mm-hmm.
$200 an hour work people.
Yep.
A leader of leaders has an opportunity to do $10,000 an hour work. Part of that is building those leaders. The other is setting the direction for the company. You need to
Yep.
set the vision
Yep.
and champion it through to the end, right? You need to
Yep.
build the team, but in this case, it's the leadership team. And the results that you deliver are the results for the entire organization through the leaders who are leading their teams to deliver that, right? And to organize that in a,
Yep.
in a way that creates great accountability and fun through the process. So,
Exactly.
um, great talking with you today, Eric. Thanks so much for bringing that issue that I think is really relevant to all of us. So,
Yep.
thank you again.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Uh,
Thanks for your insight.
Eric, if people feel like they need better insight into their dollars and how the accounting side is running and am I succeeding in my business, how would they get in touch with you? What's the easiest way?
Plotpath.com.
That's easy. plotpath.com, right?
Exactly. Yep. You fill out a
Plotpath.com. I took a look at your stuff. It looks fantastic. And I love that you have so much insight into so many businesses. You're probably able to say, hey, you ought to watch out. This is a trend. Let me tell you where it's coming from.
Yeah, yeah. We work with over 100 businesses. We've been doing this for 8 years, and prior to that, I was working with a bunch of small businesses, and so we can usually figure out where people are, where they're trying to go, and how we can get them there with better finance and accounting.
Well, we appreciate what you do for small businesses and for what you shared with us today. That concludes this episode of the Seven Figure Journey podcast. Again, thanks, Eric, for being here with us, and all of those who are listening. If you'll please just share, like, do all the things on social media and other places to invite other seven-figure business owners to listen and learn with us. Keep striving and growing and keep caring. Until next time.